You know what would be better than watching this commercial? Watching your commercial. Join the party that is Make Your Day Richer TV by advertising your brand, business, or project during the show. Use us to promote what you're doing to make our viewers' day richer. Scan the QR code or visit makeyourdayricher.com/advertising to start promoting today.
Make your day richer than it was before. Got some good times knocking upon your front door.
Well, hi everyone. Welcome to the show. It's Monday. Hope you had a great weekend. I did. I can't lie to you. I did not take down my Christmas decorations. That was the plan. That was my goal. And I did not succeed because I just didn't want to. It felt like so much work, but I'm so ready for it. Like half of them are on. I've unplugged some of them. Some of them are still plugged in. I just can't do it. But I think I'll do it this week. I think it'll be done this week. That's my goal. The outside decorations are off, but it's also raining, so I can't bring them in because it has been raining and wet. I don't know. Whatever. Who cares? Doesn't matter. I don't know. I like the tree in the morning. I like the tree at night when the lights are off. So maybe I'll just leave it up and decorate it for Valentine's Day. I don't know. Let's see. Did you watch the Golden Globes last night? I didn't. I did not. But I heard, well, first of all, I do love Nikki Glaser. I think she's very funny. Outside of the roast that everybody made her popular. She's a very funny comedian. And I'm sure she did a fantastic job. That has to be a hard gig to do. But I also heard that Demi Moore won her first award ever. She's been in this industry for how many decades? And she won her first award last night. That seems insane to me. Which also means there's still hope for me. Although I have won awards. But I can't believe that. I cannot believe that. So congratulations to Demi Moore. And of course, Wicked. I have not seen Wicked yet either. I'm the worst with movies because I cannot sit for 2 hours, 3 hours in silence like that without getting more coffee, taking a pee break, getting more popcorn. I'm a good TV watcher because 22 minutes, boom, 42 minutes, boom, it's over. I can go. I can take a break. Movies are tough, but I do really want to see Wicked, and it's now streaming. So should I see it streaming in my house, or do I go see it in the theater and risk theater kids singing the entire time? I don't know. Anyway, I did, however, start editing a new podcast that I'm not going to announce yet because we have to sign that contract, but I'm working on a new podcast, editing, not doing anything but editing for them right now. It's a really good podcast. And so I'm excited to tell you about it once I can. And hopefully I'll get the host on this show to talk about it as well. Hey, congratulations. First of all, 110,000 views. Excuse me, what? Come on. Thank you so much. Now's a good time. If you're watching, just click that share button and get us to 111,000. Go. Do it. And thank you so much for all the support. I get to do this every day. I was filming an interview with an author before we went live for an upcoming show. And we were talking, she quit her job as an investor and started writing books. And that is her full-time job. And we were talking about that. And she was like, you get to do this all the time? I'm like, yeah, yes, every day, all day. I just sit here and wait for someone to show up on the screen and talk to them. So thank you for taking this ride with me, for supporting me in this ride. If you want to buy me a coffee and support the show, go to buymeacoffee.com/makeyourdayricher. Buy us a coffee. It helps do everything we're doing here because it's a lot of work, but it's so fun. It was, and congratulations to Tyler Foley, who was our number one show last week. The Power to Speak Naked was our number one show last week. So thank you for him, to him for coming on. I was also looking when we first started this show in June of 2024. Our first month, I think we had 7,000 views and downloads. In December alone this year, we had 19,000. And listen, I'm not one to cry while I'm on here. I cry all the time on here, but it feels great. It feels amazing to get to do this and to share all of these people with you. Thank you to Podmatch, who is responsible for a lot of the guests that you've been seeing lately they're just doing so well. I'm so happy. And I hope you are too. And if you want to be on the show, just email me. Where's that one? info@makeyourdayricher.com. Go, hey, I'm doing something cool. Can I come on the show? Or I'm doing something cool. Can I put an ad on your show? Yes, you can. makeyourdayricher.com/advertising. Okay, I think that is it. We have a great show. Today's our first show where we have 2 guests per day. The shows are bigger, starting now. And we've got Kristine Darley-Kline here, who we actually filmed her episode last summer, but her book wasn't coming out until later. And then she ended up with some medical stuff. And then the book got delayed. But the book is out now. And so it's going to look a lot different than what you're seeing right now. The desk is different. The camera's different. Everything, it looks really, it was funny to edit and see what it used to look like. So she's here. And also Mike Montague is here from Playful Humans podcast, the Playful Humans book, and all the things he's doing. So I'm excited to introduce you to all of those people in just a minute, because I think I have nothing else to tell you. Okay, so let's start the show, shall we? All right. We often hear about the importance of play for children, but what about adults? Mike Montague explores the science behind play and its impact on our well-being. He uses humor and insight to help us rediscover the joy of play. He's the host of the Playful Humans podcast and author of the book Playful Humans. Please welcome Mike Montague. Advocate of fun, creativity. He's got a podcast about it. He's got a book about it. Both of those things are called Playful Humans, correct?
Correct. Yeah, I made it easy for you.
Well, good. Well, good. Mike, how's it going?
I am doing great. I just launched the book, Playful Humans, 52 Reasons to Rediscover the Power of Play in Your Life and Career. And I think a lot of adults have lost the play along the way. So I hope it helps.
We talk about that a lot on this show. What is your reasoning for why adults do that?
I think there are several reasons. Number one is just kind of societal pressure of adulting and the Puritan work ethic that we've all kind of grown up with, that we're supposed to do hard things. And even I think in entrepreneurial worlds, hustle and grind and all kinds of bad advice out there. Two, I think the school systems kind of teach us that we get points for the right answer and not the most creative or fun answer. And then the way our bodies are wired, human conditioning is meant for survival. So if you're growing up in a harsh world out there, your brain and your body gets used to running away from danger and not running towards pleasure. Goofing around, taking chances, doing something a little bit risky is too dangerous for our sort of evolutionary survival. And so I think there are some challenges there.
Have you learned all of this through trial and error and your own mistakes, or were you always just about fun and about creativity and joy?
That's hilarious, because that's one of the questions I ask every guest on my podcast. And I get a wide variety of answers. For me, it was pretty much always playful. I had a really cool grandmother who, Grandma Lynn, who inspired us to play and be creative. Her mom was a piano teacher. She was an artist, and she worked in quality control for Hallmark Cards and here in Kansas City and AT&T, Southwestern Bell at the time. And she just had this awesome environment. We called it creative nerdery, where we would, go in the back room and get the toy instruments and make up a song. Or we would, she introduced me to Monty Python and like the Benny Hill show. Probably shouldn't have done that as a kid. But even fun authors like Dave Barry or comedians like Steve Martin and Martin Short. She just loved playfulness and humor. And so I was doing fake radio shows at her house, and then I ended up on the radio here in Kansas City on the top 40 station, Mix 93.3, Kansas City's #1 hit music station.
You do have a radio voice. This is
in
true.
my 20s.
Yeah. What did you want to be when you were a kid, when you grew up?
Oh, definitely on the radio. I don't know why, other than I loved music. I loved their sense of humor. I thought it was a really cool thing to do. I also love stand-up comedy, and my brother did that. And I always tell people two things about that. One is some jobs look a lot more fun than they actually are. You don't know what happens behind the scenes. And two, children sometimes make very crappy career choices. So if you ask a fifth grader what they want to be, they don't think about paying the bills and, stuff like that, or what hours you're working and how you go on a date if you're on the radio from 7 to midnight.
Yeah. Well, speaking of not knowing what happens behind the scenes, tell everybody about your podcast. And that obviously is a good transition from radio to podcasting. But what got you into that?
I started Playful Humans as a passion project in the pandemic to interview people that play for a living. Anybody that is like having fun, living the life of their dreams. So maybe they're a magician, a juggler, a comedian, they are a voiceover actor or an artist or an author, and anybody that is kind of like, how do you even get into that career? Tattoo artists, cartoonists, all kinds of really cool people. There's over 200 episodes now, and gotten to interview some really cool people. I feel like you and I are around the same age. My favorite guest so far is this guy that is a famous voiceover actor, David Kay, and he does the voice of Megatron and Optimus Prime on the Transformers. But he did General Hawk and G.I. Joe when we were kids, like the original Saturday morning G.I. Joe cartoon. And it's just awesome to hear him talk.
Well, it sounds like that might be the answer to my next question, which is like, what do you have any like surprise stories or surprise like guests that have surprised you with their jobs or their stories?
Oh, there's been so many. I'll give you a couple of other ones people might recognize, and then maybe one that you wouldn't. DC Glenn from Tag Team and Whoomp, there it is. I had him on the show a couple of years ago after the Super Bowl commercial where they did the scoop. There it is with the ice cream and stuff. And that guy hustles. He works harder than most of the people that I know, and willing to come on a small show like mine and everything just to get the word out and keep hustling. And it was a really cool story around the work ethic, and kind of the 25-year journey of that song was fascinating. The other one was Justin Guarini. He lost the first American Idol to Kelly Clarkson, and a fascinating story. He's written a book on confidence, and he helps people with public speaking and stuff now. But he's been on Broadway shows, and he's the little sweet character in the Diet Dr. Pepper commercials. So he's the sweet one. And then I mentioned the tattoo artist earlier because he came to mind. This guy named Dan Hank started as a cartoonist and was drawing sort of like cartoons for magazines and motorcycle magazines and tattoo magazines and stuff. And then ended up living the dream, like traveling the world, and lived in like South America and was doing his art. And then he started writing novels, like sci-fi novels, and he still wins awards for his drawing and his tattoo art, but people pay him thousands of dollars to fly around the world and give him a tattoo, and people that love his style is amazing. And I think what I got out of it was that there's this middle class of creators. Like we all know the Mr. Beast, the Tom Cruise, the Rock, people that are making millions of dollars, but there are people making six figures just drawing tattoos on people. There are people that have their own little podcast, or they make some sort of book that people like, and they have a nice little book series, and you'd never see it on a bestseller. Nobody ever knows about it. They don't go on Oprah talking about their book, but they have a children's book series that has like 12 books, and they make a living out of it. And I think that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean that's why I started my original show that I did for 6 years was because I called them basement artists, like people
Yeah.
creating amazing artwork, and they're not Tom Cruise. And I like he can go on
Yeah.
any show, make an awful movie, go on any show, and there are people making great art out there and have nowhere to go and talk about it.
I think people see the extremes, right? They see the people that are struggling artists and they're like, oh, well, I don't want to be an out of work stand-up comedian. And I don't want to, and I want to be, Mr. Beast, or I want to be Steve Martin or Kevin Hart or something like that. But
Yeah.
what they miss is there's a lot of people that are just doing what they love. There's a guy that's a mayor of a small town, is a stand-up comedian. He has a couple of dry bar specials. He's a clean comic. He works churches around the country and makes a living doing clean stand-up comedy and has a blast. Again, has written a book, and that's why he was doing the podcast circuit. But I think those kind of stories are amazing. And actually, it's better. Kevin Hart has a lot of headaches. He can't go anywhere. He's going to get stopped. He can't, do things. He's got a lot to lose. There's a lot of people talking about him on social media and saying bad things and bad reviews. But the guy that I was just mentioning, nobody knows him. Yeah, I mean, they know him in the small town. He gets to be the mayor, but like he travels an hour away from his town and he can go out anywhere he wants, go to dinner, have fun, enjoy his life.
When does that podcast come out? How often?
Weekly. So I've been, doing that show for 4 years. We're at the end of the year 4 here.
Wow. And it's called Playful Humans, like we said. And then obviously the book, Playful Humans. Tell everybody, well, we talked about that already, but I'm curious of like maybe some of the info in there that people could start doing today.
Yeah, I'll give you a couple here. So the book is a lot of lessons from the podcast and things that I've created on my own journey. So the part we skipped over was in the pandemic, I was really struggling. I was in a day job that was really stressful. The pandemic kind of sucked all the extra fun out of my life. So the things that I enjoyed doing on nights and weekends, I wasn't doing anymore. And I'm always a very kind of social creature. If I don't get some live human interaction, I struggle a little bit. And so I was just feeling burned out and bored and kind of, depressed with the whole thing, and a little bit of a midlife crisis of like, what's next? How come I'm not making a bigger impact, or what my next creative pursuit was? And I found this play research, and there's a ton of psychology, neuroscience, research studies around these powerful concepts. So I combine the psychology with the stories from the Playful Human podcast to create these really like applicable lessons that you can go and try. The first one in the book is We All Speak Ball. And that came from a guy named Kevin Carroll, who wrote The Magic of the Red Rubber Ball, I think is the name of the book. And basically that every mammal on the planet loves to play with a ball. It's this movement between order and chaos. When the ball is in our hand, like we can control it. We know what it is. We have this kind of confidence and sphere of influence that we feel good about. But when you throw it and bounce against the wall, it enters this chaos area where we don't know what's going to happen, especially on an uneven surface or something like that, or a strange ball with different divots in it and stuff might bounce in different directions. And it fascinates us. And so what actually excites us as a human being is the movement between order and chaos. So the NFL is another great example. Like in the NFL football, they all line up. Everything is perfect. They have to freeze for a second. It's in the rules, perfect order. And then they say hi and all hell breaks loose. Bodies slam into each other. Ball goes flying. It's a weird shaped ball. So if it loses its grip, it's bouncing everywhere. And then the whistle blows and they all goes back to normal. And it's the number one show on television because every few seconds they go from order to chaos. And so if we think about that with our life, we need the safety, we need security, we need some order. Too much chaos is not great for us, but too much order is not great either. That's where we run into boredom and burnout. And so I think that's a great lesson for us as humans, just trying to have the best day possible.
Oh, and where can people get the book?
Amazon is the best way to get it. There's a Kindle version and a paperback.
Did you ever think you would was being an author ever on your list of things to do? Like, how does that feel?
That is a fun story because I was a little dyslexic growing up, and I've always just kind of thought differently, and I was a horrible speller. My father is notoriously a bad speller, like can't spell anything. I've seen him misspell the letter Q before. So no, when I was younger, I never thought I was going to be an author, but I had this really great teacher in college, and that's kind of when spell check and things were kicking in, and he wasn't grading on grammar. All of a sudden, he was a newspaper writer, so he's like, "That's what we have editors for. What I need somebody that can capture the magic, tell a great story." And he said, "I hear the music in words," was his compliment to me, and I thought, holy
Wow.
crap, somebody finally gets it. Like, it's not about
Mm.
the comma or the spelling of the word, it's about what I'm trying to say. And that opened up all the doors for me. So now
Wow.
I use Grammarly, and I have a lot of external reviews. I think I had 4 or 5 people edit the book just to make sure it was as good as possible. Still missed a few things, but that really gave me the confidence to express myself as a writer instead of like a podcaster or public speaker.
What do you love most about your life right now?
Oh man, it is just I think I've recently left that day job that I was talking about and started my own company, Avenue 9, to do internet marketing. And it's been a couple of months, and I've replaced my full-time income. I'm enjoying my life, but I think the most exciting part about it is that it's all up to me now. I'm not
Mhm.
leaving any excuses on the table. It's not that my boss wouldn't let me. It's not that um, somebody else was holding me back or anything. It's just I can go as far as I want to go now, and it's up to me to run as hard as I want or play as much as I want, and I can leave. I can work whatever hours I want, and if today I feel creative in the morning and tired in the afternoon, I'll stop working. And if tomorrow I am tired in the morning and feel more creative at night after everybody goes to bed and the phone stops ringing, then I can do my work then. And that's the most fun part for me.
That's amazing. What is the best way that people can reach out to you and connect with you?
Yeah, like I said, I kept it all pretty easy. So Playful Humans on every social media channel for the podcast, whatever pod episode or app you use to watch this episode would be great. Search for Playful Humans. That's the name of the book, the website, and Mike Montague on LinkedIn.
There you go. And I mean, he's a DJ, game show host, which I want to talk to you about at some other point, because that's how we originally connected, was talking about that.
Yeah.
Speaker, you're amazing. Thank you so much for being here.
Well, thanks for having me on. This is a great show. I love that you're spreading the good news and the mission to everybody that adults need to have some more fun, and we got to make the most of every day for sure.
Yeah, back at you. Thanks for what you're doing. We need it, definitely. We're going to take a break, and we'll be right back with Kristine Darley-Kline right after this. Don't go away.
You know what would be better than watching this commercial? Watching your commercial. Scan the QR code or visit makeyourdayricher.com/advertising to start promoting today.
Hi, everyone. We are back, and we're going to take a serious moment for a second, but that has turned into something fun and educational and funny. Thanks to Kristine, my guest today. Kristine, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Now, you had an interesting way to deal with your loneliness during the pandemic, but that's also kind of serious that you wanted to talk about. And as we're online, everybody's online. So I think it's important to start off with that and then lead into, because you're a true artist, what you ended up coming up with because of it.
Yeah, so like everybody, the lockdown was a challenge. You know, I went through a divorce and I weaned off medication I've been taking for anxiety for 25 years. And a guy I met left the country and went and got a girlfriend, and I was terribly lonely. At the same time, people who are watching this probably know that scammers on social media during that time just went off the charts. You know, I started getting these requests from scammers on Instagram a lot and Facebook that, and at first I didn't know. I thought these were, because they're all men and they were all wanting to get to know me and pretending that they're interested in me and stuff. And they got me in the beginning. And then I got privy to it. It's not hard, you know, to see that when somebody sends you a fake request and their handle is, Mark Boner, that maybe that's not a real person.
Yeah,
especially when they have 5 posts and about 7 friends.
Yeah.
And
they just joined yesterday.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so it's pretty easy to figure it out after maybe got like, I think 2 or 3 times. And I thought, at first I was like, okay, I'll stay away from this because this is not good. And, as it turns out, these scammers, I know now, between 2021 and 2023, they have scammed on social media alone people out of $2.7 billion. And that's just in 2 years.
Billion with a B?
Billion.
Wow.
So this is really something, you need to take seriously.
Yeah.
But as it turns out, I didn't take it very seriously. I ended up accepting their requests, knowing full well these were scammers, trying to mainly get my email address. And eventually they're going to get my phone number and hack into my bank account and, commit fraud with my friends and family and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you want to go to the funny part now?
Well, and we're not advocating to do this. Kristine is a
not at
professional
all.
comedian. And so that's why she was having, yes, and a writer and also a film producer. And so
I do not recommend doing this whatsoever.
No, I know. I mean, over $2 billion. Like, it's very serious, and it's very easy to get scammed by them and get confused. And
yeah. And if you've been taken by a scammer, please do not feel bad. This is really a common thing because they're smart. They're conniving. They create fake charities that look very real, and so you think you're giving to a charity or not. You're giving money to them. Or they tell you can get a free loan, but it's not a loan. They'll tell you don't have to pay it back. That's the amazing part. And if you're in a desperate situation, you're probably going to give it a try, not knowing that, you're giving money to these scammers.
Yeah, it was such a desperate time for so many people. And you ended up, like you said, friending them and carrying out elaborate conversations with them.
Yeah, I did. And so over a course of like 3 years, I've got 13 that I put into a book because they're really hilarious. And what I try and do with these guys is, and ladies, let's be clear, it's not just men. What I try to do is turn the tables a little bit on them, confuse them, get them to then start questioning, am I really real? Am I, I have one guy who says, I tell him I live in Italy, and he looks at my Facebook profile and he sees that I live in Atlanta. And then he starts questioning me if I'm real. So he's like, your profile says you live in Italy. I hope you understand. I need to clarify this. So I like to turn the tables on these guys, but I do it in a way that's really funny. So, and it also really frustrates them because they really want my money.
Yeah. How long would some of these conversations go on for? Like hours, weeks?
That's a great, great question, Richard. It kind of varied, but I would say most of them over the course of a couple of days.
Wow.
It depended on how much fun I was having, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Because it really helped my loneliness. When I got a good scammer, like in the morning, I would check my phone and be like, oh, I've got one on the line. I knew I would be entertained for a couple of days.
Yeah. As long as they were engaging, right? Like, why not?
Yeah.
You narrowed it down to how many in the book? 13?
13.
But how many would you say that you went through in those years that
That's
you were doing?
That's a great question as well. 50 to 100, 50
Wow.
to 70, something like that.
Do you have any stories that aren't in the book that you now wish were in the book, like that were just insane, or that's why you narrowed it down to that many, to 13?
I think that a lot of readers would find them interesting, but I got to be pretty picky about this. They're all pretty funny. They're all pretty amusing. But I wanted to get the ones that people will just be like, what? Like there's a scammer out there who really believes I'm a dolphin swimming in the ocean texting.
Oh, wait, what?
Yeah, no. At one point I tell him I'm a dolphin. I tell him I became a dolphin. And he asks me like, well, can you text in the water? I was like, yeah.
Of course you can.
Yeah.
Yes.
And eventually I tell him, he's like, how's your day going? And I say, not very well, because I just accidentally swam onto the beach and I can't get back into the water. Stuff like that.
He was like, I'll send help. Does it usually end up with you stopping the conversation, or do they stop responding?
It depends on how frustrated they get. Because they get, some of them are just like, I'm wasting their time.
Yeah.
And they get frustrated. So some of them will leave if I'm not falling for their scams, but not often. I think some of them actually really enjoyed just the conversation too. Because what we're both doing is just pretending.
Yeah. But they have an ultimate goal of getting something from you. I wonder if they think, like, if I continue, eventually she'll break. Eventually,
I think that's probably what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can
But
you
here's
read?
the thing is,
Oh, yeah.
these guys really believe what I'm saying. I have one I'd love to read to show you
Yes,
that
please.
they actually believe this.
The name of the book is Mark Boner Sent You a Friend Request. And
That's the name of the book. And that was an actual handle of one of the scammers. And in that, I'm not going to read that one today, but in that exchange, I say to them, I love your last name, sexy. They don't respond at all to that. I don't think they know what boner means.
yeah. So crazy. Okay. I'd love to hear an excerpt from the book.
This is chapter 13. And the title of it is My Name is Potato, and I live at the North Pole with dinosaurs. So eventually in this exchange, I'm going to say that, and it's pretty funny. All right. So the angle for this scammer is to get me to join Telegram. And this is a really common one. They want to get my email address. The email address is that's a big deal for these scammers. They want to go on Telegram or Google Chat because it's harder for them to get busted there. And also there's a term for what this scammer's doing, and that's called account cloning. When someone takes your friends or a famous person's picture and pretends to be them, that's what it's called. And it's very common. So this scammer is pretending to be Jim James. He's the lead singer of My Morning Jacket, lives in Kentucky. And I know immediately that, this is a scammer. There's a picture of him, and Jim says, thanks for the likes on my page and all the support you show. As a special fan of mine, I hope you don't stop listening to my music. And I say, hi, Jim. And he says, how are you doing? And I said, I'm doing great. He says, how are you? And he said, I'm doing pretty good. Thanks for asking. And thanks for all the love and the support. It means a lot. And I said, well, you're just a Jim. Jim. He says, thank you. He says, I hope you're safe over there. And I say, I'm totally safe, minus, a few dinosaurs. And he says, oh, I'm glad you're safe, dear. No reaction to the dinosaur shed. He says, what's your name? And where are you chatting from? And I say, my name is Potato. And I'm chatting from the North Pole. What about you? And he says, wow, you have such a beautiful name. Potato. Beautiful name. He said, well, I'm from Kentucky. He says, how long have you been my fan? And I say, for 20 years. And he says, wow, that's great. So you're a big fan. And then I get busy and some time passes. And I say, oh, I'm sorry for the delay. One of the dinosaurs just crushed my house. So I was a little distracted. I said, but I'm all good now. And I said, which of your songs do you like the most? And he gives me one of his songs, which is Right. And he says, I'd like to chat with you later on Telegram. Are you on it? And I ignore this. And I say, one of the dinosaurs had babies, and they're flying around all over the place right now. What's crazy is that the babies can swim, but the adult dinosaurs cannot, which is bizarre. And I say, I think I'm going to take a swim with them a little bit later. Life at the North Pole can sure be exciting. And he says, that's so fascinating. He says, it's really strange that the baby dinosaurs can swim and that the adult ones can't. He said, it would be so cool to join them for a swim later. He says, oh, now he gets back to Telegram. He says, can you get back on Telegram? And I say, I just spoke with one of the adult dinosaurs, and he said, do not do Telegram because it's a waste of time. Now he gets a little upset, and he says, okay. He says, well, you don't need to tell anyone about our conversation. He said, I like people who keep things to themselves. And I say, privacy's cool, bud, I'd have to tell the dinosaurs everything. I didn't tell him about my lover, and that's why they smashed my house. And I said, so I have to tell them, or they're going to smash me. And he says, I don't understand. Finally, he now starts to question me. He says, I don't understand. What do you mean? They destroyed your house? Who destroyed your house? And what did you do? And I said, the dinosaurs destroyed my home, one in particular. And all he had to do was put a little toe down and it was gone. So I'm out of luck, bud. I said, but this, don't you see why I have to tell them everything? He said, oh my gosh, that's terrible. I'm really sorry to hear about your home being destroyed by the dinosaurs. He says, I understand why you feel like you need to be open, but just don't tell him everything. And I give him a little picture of this really cute baby dinosaur. And I just say, I'm obsessed. I saw this little guy swim today. And he says, really? ? And I say, yes, it's the best day of my life. He says, all right, you're an interesting woman. And I say, well, it's been nice sharing with you. I got to go to bed. And that was it.
Wow. It's so interesting the way that they will engage and try to like continue just to keep you engaged in hopes that you'll crack. I know for me, when I get messages when they call you dear before anything, I'm like, okay, that's probably not a person who actually wants to talk to me.
That's a good catch.
Were there any signs for you that like right away, because some of them can be very convincing, right? Like, and so were there signs right away that you would see or they would say that you were like, okay, I know for sure?
So you caught one of the main ones. So like one of them was a lottery winner. He was pretending to be a lottery winner from Florida. And he says, how are you doing, my dear? And he starts calling me madame a lot. It's like, you know, that language is not right.
It's not right? Floridian, I don't think.
Yeah. So that's certainly one of them. There's a ton of typos. Little things like, is you going to the store rather than are you going to the store? Things like that. Gosh, there's a lot. I need to write those down. It's a good point.
Has it stopped or slowed down for you, or you're just not engaging anymore?
Yeah, I'm not doing it anymore. Now, I've once in a while if I'm bored, but I'm really lucky in that I've got a lot of friends and, I'm busy in the entertainment industry now. And so I don't have to resort to that.
On a boring Friday night, why not?
Once in a while, yeah. But fortunately, I also do oil paintings and things like that.
Where is the book available for people?
Right now, I have self-published on Amazon. So they can get it on Amazon.
I love that it's like entertainment and silly and fun, but also kind of a learning element to it as well.
Because also here's what I find too, Richard, is that it's not just a learning thing, but it's a sharing thing. This is something that people have been dealing with and been frustrated. There are people who have quit social media entirely because they don't want to deal with the nuisance of it.
Yeah.
It's impacting people's lives. And I think people enjoy sharing their own stories. Whenever I talk to somebody about the book, they'll be like, oh, well, listen to what happened to me.
Yeah.
And I think it's really helpful for people in that regard alone. Taking a charge and saying, hey, scammers, you don't get to run the show here. We can do stuff. We can
fight back. Yeah. And it goes beyond that with text messages and phone calls. I mean, you could have a whole series of things based on that. It's so awful.
I don't know if we have time, but I can tell you the worst scam that ever happened to me.
Yes, please.
Okay. So this actually fueled my fire for a while. This was a couple of years ago. I don't know if you ever sell anything on Marketplace, on Facebook's Marketplace.
Yep.
Here's a really important thing. So, I was selling a paper shredder, and someone was very interested, and he told me, he sounded like he knew the area that I lived in, and he said he lived there as well. He knew the park where I live across from, and I really fell for it. And he said, listen, I'm out of the country. Now, this is very common. If someone says to you, hey, I'm out of the country, can my girlfriend come and get it? And I said, sure, that's no problem. He said, well, can I pay you now? Don't ever make a payment until you meet the person. I said, sure. And he said, well, do you have Zelle? And I said, yes, I do. And he said, okay, well, let me Zelle you. And of course, you have to give him your email address or your phone number. And unfortunately, he asked for in the A, we love our 404. Like there's nicknames for Atlanta. One of them is the 404. And I had my lovely 404 and I gave it to this guy. I gave it to him. And he immediately said, well, let me have your email address. And that's when I knew immediately that it was a scammer because he wouldn't need both. He or she would not need both. Unfortunately, I knew immediately, and I called my provider and said, will you please put a hold on my phone just as a precaution.
Yeah.
And later that night, I was setting up a television. I was installing on Amazon on my TV. And they said, well, you need to get the code off your phone. And so I looked at my phone and my phone rang and I picked up and it was the scammer and pretending to be from Amazon and saying like, wow. Hey, I need that code off your phone. I knew immediately. I hung up and I had to give up my 404. I had to give me a new phone number. I dealt with the repercussions for that for over a year.
Wow.
Yeah. So be careful on that marketplace. It's swimming with scammers.
Yeah, it's insane. The book is called Mark Boner Sent You a Friend Request. It's available on Amazon, and we'll put all the links in the show notes and in the comments. Kristine, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Anytime.
I really, really hope this helps people, and at the very least, you get a chuckle.
We'll be right back, everybody, after this.
You know what would be better than watching this commercial? Watching your commercial. Scan the QR code or visit makeyourdayricher.com/advertising to start promoting today.
Thanks for watching, everyone. We'll be back tomorrow with an all-new show. Two guests tomorrow. Now's a great time to press that share button, would you? All right. Have a great day. Go make your day richer. Go make someone else's day richer. What? I have not had enough coffee. You've made mine richer by watching the show, and I love you for it. We'll see you tomorrow, everyone. Bye-bye. Oh, also, you'll see if you are, I don't know, no one would notice. Maybe you should notice that there are a ton of people in the credits, the end credits, and all of those people have supported this program one way or another through Buy Me a Coffees, campaigns, paying to be on this show, all kinds of wonderful people in the credits. And so I want to thank them because we got to add more names before this show. So there you go. I love you all. Have a great day. Bye-bye.